The basilica stood silent. A hush had fallen over the grand expanse of St. Peter's, the air thick with incense and anticipation. Shadows stretched long across the marble floor, reaching towards the heart of the Catholic world, the papal throne. But the throne was empty. The ornate chair, usually occupied by the Vicar of Christ, sat vacant. Its golden gleam seemed to amplify the silence, a stark reminder of the weight of absence. The world held its breath. The papacy, the unbroken line stretching back centuries, stood at a crossroads. News had spread like wildfire across the globe. The Pope was gone. In every corner of the world, the announcement echoed, on television screens, radios, and the endless scroll of social media. For many, it was a moment that seemed almost impossible, a reality too heavy to accept. The world paused as if holding its breath as the news settled in. Conversations stopped mid-sentence and strangers exchanged glances of disbelief in city streets and quiet villages alike. The loss was not just of a leader, but of a symbol, a figure who had for decades been a beacon of hope and compassion. The shepherd, the voice of hope for millions, had left his earthly flock. In the heart of Vatican City, crowds gathered in silence, their prayers rising like incense into the cool air. Some wept openly, others stood in quiet reflection, clutching rosaries or holding hands. The sense of loss was palpable, stretching far beyond the walls of the Vatican, reaching into the hearts of believers and non-believers alike. For many, he had been a moral compass, a gentle guide through turbulent times. The cause was irrelevant now, whether death had claimed him or an unforeseen event had forced his hand. What mattered was the emptiness left behind, the sudden silence where once there had been words of comfort and guidance. The world's attention turned to Rome, but the sense of loss was universal. In every church, every home, every heart, the question lingered, what would come next? The result was the same, a void at the very heart of the Catholic Church. The papal balcony, once a place of blessing and celebration, now stood empty, its silence echoing the sorrow of millions. The chair of St. Peter, a symbol of continuity and faith, was vacant. The papal ring, once kissed in reverence, now rested quietly, its meaning unchanged, but its bearer gone. The church for a moment seemed adrift, its center lost. From the Americas to Africa, from Europe to the Far East, a collective gasp of disbelief was followed by profound sorrow. In bustling cities and remote villages, people gathered, some in grand cathedrals, others in humble chapels or open fields. The world's diversity was on full display, yet in this moment all were united by a single emotion. Vigils sprang up spontaneously, candles illuminating the darkness as people sought comfort in community and faith. The Pope's influence had transcended borders, languages and cultures, touching lives in ways both seen and unseen. The faithful, in a kaleidoscope of languages and cultures, united in mourning. Old and young, rich and poor, believers and even those who simply admired the Pope's message of peace, all found themselves drawn together. In whispered prayers and shared tears, in the embrace of strangers and the solemnity of song, the world grieved as one. The Pope's legacy was not just in doctrine, but in the compassion he inspired across generations. Candles flickered in the night, casting long shadows on faces etched with grief and uncertainty. The world for a brief moment was united not by politics or power, but by a shared sense of loss and hope. In the gentle glow of candlelight, people found solace, remembering a leader who had touched their lives and inspired their hearts. The mourning would continue, but so too would the memory of a pope who, in life and in death, brought the world together. Behind the imposing walls of the Vatican, a different kind of urgency took hold. The Swiss guards, stoic and unyielding, patrolled the ancient stone corridors. Inside the College of Cardinals, the princes of the Church gathered. The weight of responsibility, of history, pressed upon their shoulders. The whispers started, soft at first, then growing louder. Names were uttered, reputations dissected, alliances forged. The fate of the Catholic Church rested in their hands. They had to choose a new leader, a new pope. The future, they knew, hung precariously in the balance. The world watched, holding its breath, as whispers turned to pronouncements. In every corner of the globe, from bustling cities to quiet villages, people tuned in, united by anticipation and curiosity. The air was thick with speculation, as the faithful and the skeptical alike wondered who would emerge as the next leader of the Catholic Church. The Vatican, shrouded in centuries-old tradition, became the epicenter of global attention, its ancient walls echoing with the hopes and anxieties of millions. The names of the leading contenders, the Papabili, were on everyone's lips. In whispered conversations and bold headlines, their stories were dissected, their pasts scrutinized, their visions debated. Each candidate brought with him a unique blend of experience, charisma, and conviction, fueling endless debate among Vatican watchers and ordinary believers alike. Each man, a cardinal, a prince of the church, carried the weight of expectation, of hope, and of scrutiny. Their red robes symbolized not just authority but sacrifice, a reminder of the blood of martyrs and the burdens of leadership. Behind solemn faces, thoughts raced, of the church's future, of the world's needs, of the legacy they might inherit or leave behind. Cardinal Tagle, the charismatic Filipino, a beacon of hope for the marginalized. His gentle manner and infectious smile have endeared him to many, especially among the poor and disenfranchised. Tagle's advocacy for compassion and social justice resonates far beyond the Philippines, inspiring those who long for a church that listens and serves. Cardinal Zuppi, the Italian peacemaker, known for his bridge-building diplomacy. His tireless work in conflict zones and his commitment to dialogue have earned him respect across religious and political divides. Zuppi's vision is one of unity, of a church that reaches out, heals wounds, and builds bridges where others see only walls. Cardinal Turkson, the Ghanaian intellectual, a voice for Africa and the developing world. His deep understanding of global economics and social justice has made him a champion for the poor and a passionate advocate for environmental stewardship. Turkson's presence signals a church that is truly universal, attentive to the cries of the earth and the marginalized. Cardinal Parolin, the Vatican's seasoned diplomat, a master of consensus. Behind the scenes, he has navigated delicate negotiations, brokered peace, and maintained the Church's voice on the world stage. Parolin's steady hand and quiet wisdom have made him indispensable in times of crisis and transition. And Cardinal Erdo, the Hungarian traditionalist, a staunch defender of orthodoxy. His commitment to doctrine and tradition appeals to those who seek stability and continuity in a rapidly changing world. Erdo's leadership is marked by a deep reverence for the Church's past and a cautious approach to its future. Each man offered a different vision for the future of the Church. As the world waited, the cardinals themselves wrestled with questions of faith, leadership, and destiny. In their hands rested not just the fate of an institution, but the hopes of over 1 billion souls. The conclave was more than a ritual. It was a crossroads where history, faith, and humanity converged in a moment of profound significance. Luis Antonio Tagle, the Archbishop of Manila, embodied the dynamism of the Asian Church. His warm smile and infectious laughter, belied a sharp intellect and a deep well of compassion. A champion of the poor and the marginalized, Tagle was a vocal advocate for social justice and inclusivity. He spoke out for the LGBT+ community, urging the Church to welcome them with open arms. He challenged traditional stances on divorce and remarriage, urging compassion and understanding. For many, he represented a breath of fresh air, a sign that the Church was ready to embrace the complexities of the modern world. Matteo Zuppi, the Archbishop of Bologna, was a man of peace. Known for his diplomatic skills and his ability to build bridges between seemingly irreconcilable factions, Zuppi had earned the respect of world leaders and ordinary Catholics alike. His work in conflict zones, from the Middle East to Africa, had earned him a reputation as a man of action, a man who was willing to put himself in harm's way for the sake of peace. His gentle demeanor and his unwavering commitment to dialogue made him a popular figure, a man many believed could heal divisions within the Church and beyond. Peter Turkson, the Ghanaian cardinal, carried the hopes of a continent on his shoulders. Africa, with its booming Catholic population, looked to him as a potential standard-bearer, a man who could amplify their voices on the world stage. Turkson's message was one of social justice, of economic equality, and of environmental stewardship. He spoke out against the evils of globalization, the exploitation of the poor, and the destruction of the planet. His powerful voice resonated with many, particularly in the developing world, who saw in him a champion for their struggles. The challenges facing the next pope were immense. As the world watched, the weight of centuries-old tradition and the hopes of over 1 billion faithful rested on his shoulders. The papacy, an office steeped in history and spiritual significance, was now confronted by a new era, one marked by uncertainty, rapid change, and unprecedented global pressures. The next pope would not only inherit the spiritual leadership of the Catholic Church, but also the responsibility to guide it through some of the most turbulent times in recent memory. The Church was grappling with internal divisions, as debates raged over doctrine, tradition, and the path forward. Cardinals and bishops found themselves at odds, sometimes unable to find common ground on issues that touched the very heart of Catholic identity. These disagreements were not just theological, they were deeply personal, affecting the unity of the Church at every level, from the Vatican to the smallest parish. At the same time, the Church faced declining attendance in the West, as secularism and skepticism grew. Once crowded pews now stood empty in many European cities, while outside the world seemed to move faster than ever. The rise of technology, social media, and new forms of communication challenged the Church to find its voice in a digital age. The faithful, especially the young, were searching for meaning and connection in places far beyond the traditional walls of the Church. Scandals and crises had shaken the Church's credibility, leaving many to question its moral authority. The new pope would have to confront these painful realities head-on, offering transparency, accountability, and above all, hope for renewal. The new pope would have to navigate these treacherous waters with wisdom, courage, and a compassionate heart. Every decision would be scrutinized, every word weighed for its impact on millions. He would need to listen deeply to the cries of the suffering, the doubts of the disillusioned, and the dreams of the next generation. He would need to be a bridge builder, a unifier, reaching out not only to Catholics but to people of all faiths and backgrounds. In a world fractured by conflict and misunderstanding, the Pope's role as a global peacemaker had never been more vital. He would be called to foster dialogue, to heal old wounds, and to inspire cooperation across divides of culture, language, and belief. The next Pope would be expected to champion the cause of the marginalized, to speak out for justice, and to embody the Church's mission of mercy. His leadership would be measured not just by doctrine, but by his ability to bring hope to the forgotten and dignity to the oppressed. He would need to be a man who could heal the wounds of division and bring the Church together. This would require humility, patience, and a willingness to listen to voices from every corner of the globe. The Pope's challenge would be to unite a diverse and sometimes divided flock, reminding them of the shared faith that binds them together. He would need to be a modernizer, open to new ideas and new ways of reaching people, while remaining rooted in the timeless truths of the gospel. The Church's future would depend on its ability to adapt, to speak the language of the present without losing sight of its sacred past. The next Pope would have to find creative ways to engage with young people, to make faith relevant in a world of constant change, and to ensure that the Church's message of love and hope could be heard above the noise of modern life. And above all, he would need to be a shepherd, walking among his people, sharing in their joys and sorrows, and offering guidance in times of uncertainty. The Pope's greatest strength would lie not in power, but in his ability to serve with humility and grace, a pastor who could guide his flock with love, compassion, and a clear vision for the future. The world would look to him for leadership, for inspiration, and for the courage to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In this moment, the weight of the world truly rested on his shoulders, and the journey was only just beginning. The world waited with bated breath. Inside the Sistine Chapel, the cardinals prayed and deliberated, their red robes a splash of color against the backdrop of Michelangelo's masterpiece. The smoke, first black then white, would signal their decision. The fate of the Catholic Church, the future of 1 billion souls, hinged on the deliberations taking place within those ancient walls. Would the Church choose a reformer, a bridge builder, a traditionalist? Would they embrace change or cling to the past? The world held its breath, waiting for the white smoke that would announce a new era for the Catholic Church, a new vicar of Christ. Please subscribe to our channel History Documentary Hub for more insightful videos and intriguing content.